Good evening, one and all. We welcome you all to the international webinar series. On holistic health, well-being and sustainable development 2025, commemorating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, nation celebrating 78 years of independence and United Nations Sustainable Development Goals 2015 to 2030 and Viksit Bharat at 2025. As part of awareness and campaigns in collaboration with Sri Holistic Health Foundation India and Sri Research Institute Center for Arts, Sciences and Health. Before we start our sessions, let's take the blessings of Almighty.
आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः
With the blessings of Almighty, we shall continue with today's commemorations. Today is commemorated as International Day for the total elimination of nuclear weapons on 26 September every year. On this important day, I call on states that possess nuclear weapons to lift this shadow hanging over humanity, honor your disarmament obligation, and commit to the total elimination of nuclear weapons. A call given by Antonio Guterres, UN Secretary General. So, achieving global nuclear disarmament in the highest disarmament priority of the United Nations, it was subject to the General Assembly first resolution in 1946, which established the Atomic Energy Commission, dissolved in 1952 with a mandate to make specific proposals for the control of nuclear energy and the elimination of atomic weapons and all other major weapons adaptable to mass destruction. The United Nations has been at the forefront of many major diplomatic efforts to advance nuclear disarmament since 1959. The General Assembly endorsed the objective of general and complete disarmament. In 1978, the first special session of the General Assembly devoted to the disarmament further recognized that nuclear disarmament should be the priority objective in the field of disarmament. Every United Nations Secretary General has actively promoted this goal. Yet today, 12,241 nuclear weapons remain. Countries possessing such weapons have well-funded long-term plans to modernize their nuclear arsenals. More than half of the world's population still lives in countries that either have such weapons or are members of nuclear alliances. While the number of deployed nuclear weapons has appreciably declined since the height of the Cold War, and not one nuclear weapon has been physically destroyed pursuant to a treaty. In addition, no nuclear disarmament negotiations are currently underway. Meanwhile, the doctrine of nuclear deterrence persists as an element in the security policies of all possessor states and many of their allies. The International Arms Control Framework that contributed to international security since the Cold War acted as a brake on the use of nuclear weapons, and advanced nuclear disarmament has come under increasing strain. On 2nd August 2019, the United States withdrawal spelled the end of the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty through with the United States and the Russian Federation had previously committed to eliminating an entire class of nuclear missiles. Furthermore, the Russian Federation announced on 21st February 2023 that it will suspend its participation in the treaty on measures for further reduction and limitation of strategic offensive arms, in short known as New START. The extension of New START until February 2026 has provided an opportunity for the possessions of two largest nuclear arsenals to agree to further arms control measures. Frustration has been growing among member states regarding what is perceived as the slow pace of nuclear disarmament. The frustration has been put into sharper focus with growing concerns about the catastrophic humanitarian consequences of the use of even a single nuclear weapon, let alone a regional or global nuclear war. The General Assembly commemorates 26 September as International Day for the Total Elimination of Nuclear Weapons. The day provides an occasion for the world community to reaffirm its commitment to global nuclear disarmament as a priority. It provides an opportunity to educate the public and their leaders about the real benefits of eliminating such weapons and the social and economic costs of perpetuating them. Commemorating this day at the United Nations is especially important given its universal membership and its long experience in grappling with nuclear disarmament issues. It is the right place to address one of the humanity's greatest challenges, achieving the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons. In accordance with General Assembly Resolution 68 by 32 and subsequent resolutions, the purpose of the International Day is to further the objective of total elimination of nuclear weapons through enhancing public awareness and education about the threat posed to the humanity by nuclear weapons and the necessity for their total elimination. In so doing, it is hoped that these activities will help to mobilize new international efforts towards achieving the common goal of a nuclear weapon-free world. The General Assembly declared the International Day in December 2013 in the Resolution 68 by 32 as a follow-up to the high-level meeting of the General Assembly on Nuclear Disarmament held on 26 September 2013 in New York. This was latest in the series of efforts by General Assembly to raise public awareness and to seek deeper engagement on nuclear disarmament matters. In 2009, the General Assembly had declared 29th August as International Day Against Nuclear Test, Resolution 64 by 35. In Resolution 68 by 32, the General Assembly called for the urgent commencement of negotiations in the Conference on Disarmament of a Comprehensive Convention on Nuclear Weapons to prohibit their possession, development, production, acquisition, testing, stockpiling, transfer, and use of threat of use, and to provide for the destruction. In 2014, and its Resolution 69 by 58, the General Assembly further expressed its desire to commemorate the day and requested the Secretary General and the President of the General Assembly to make arrangements necessary to commemorate the International Day and promote it, including by convening an annual meeting of the Assembly to provide a platform for the promotion of these activities. The General Assembly repeated these requests and call in subsequent years in its resolution 70 by 34, 71 by 71, 72 by 251, 73 by 40, 74 by 54, 75 by 45, 76 by 36, 77 by 47, 78 by 27, and 79 by 47. The International Day for the Total Elimination of Nuclear Weapons has been observed annually since 2014. Pursuant to the resolutions of the General Assembly, member states, the United Nations systems, and civil society, including non-government organizations, academia, parliamentarians, the mass media, and the individuals are encouraged to commemorate and promote the International Day through enhancing public awareness and education about the threat posed to humanity by nuclear weapons and the necessity for their total elimination. To observe the International Day, the United Nations is supporting events both in New York and Geneva. United Nations information centers around the world are encouraged to raise awareness to the observance of International Day for the total elimination of nuclear weapons. As the Secretary General's stressed in his disarmament agenda, Securing Our Common Future, launched on 24th May 2018, disarmament and non-proliferation must be at the center of the work of United Nations as an integral part of our common efforts for peace and security. Outlining a set of practical measures across the entire range of disarmament issues, including weapons of mass destruction, conventional arms, and future weapon technologies, the agenda focuses on disarmament as a critical tool to maintain international peace and security, uphold the principles of humanity, protect civilians, promote sustainable development, and prevent and end armed conflict. The UN and the nuclear age were born almost simultaneously. The honor of the Second World War, culminating into nuclear blasts at Hiroshima and Nagasaki, brought home the need to address nuclear issue. By its first resolution, the General Assembly established the UN Atomic Energy Commission to deal with the problems raised by the discovery of atomic energy, and a landmark address by the United States President Dwight D. Eisenhower in 1953, Atoms for Peace, led to the establishment of the 1957 International Atoms Energy Agency, in short known as IAEA. Today is also commemorated as world's biggest coffee morning on 26th. Celebrated this year is a day not to only enjoy one of the world's favorite beverages, but also make a difference by helping raise money for people facing cancer. Globally, cancer is the second leading cause of death with 9.6 million dying every year. However, around 3.7 million lives could be saved each year through early detection, prevention, and treatment. World's biggest coffee morning started in 1991 when over 2 lakh people took part across the UK. Now the event raises over $25 million towards Macmillan's cancer support. Founded in 1911 by Douglas Macmillan, Macmillan's cancer support has grown to the UK's leading source of cancer aid. Douglas founded the organization after witnessing his father die of cancer and wanting to help other people going through same difficulties. Macmillan founded the Society for the Prevention and Relief of Cancer, intending to produce advice and information to all people suffering from cancer, along with the homes for patients at low or no cost. After creating the foundation, the now National Society for Cancer Relief became one of the first to recognize the financial cost of cancer in 1925. The charity focused on giving grants for medical fees, nursing care, clothing, artificial limbs, and hot water bottles. In 1969, after dedicating the most of his life to cancer support, Douglas Macmillan passed away from cancer. Today, much of the Douglas legacy lives on with the decades of research and aid offered throughout the history. The first ever coffee morning happened way back in 1991. It was rather a small affair with a simple idea. Guests would gather over coffee and donate the cost of their cup to Macmillan in the process. Since then, the world's biggest coffee morning has come a big way. It is now the largest and longest standing fundraising event of its kind in the UK. Over the years, some coffee morning hosts have taken their fundraising to the next level. This includes a coffee morning 100 feet underground in Boldak Mine in Cornwall, a coffee morning on a jet fighter, and the most distant coffee morning being held at Antarctica. Today is also commemorated as Sport Purple for Platelets Day in US on September 26th. This event celebrated on last Friday in September supports those suffering from idiopathic thrombocytopenic purpura ITP, a disease that causes excessive bleeding, bruising, and fatting due to low levels of platelets cells that enable blood to clot. Unfortunately, there are many unknowns about ITP, what causes it, how to fully cure it, and how many people haven't even heard of it. The Platelet Disorder Support Association, PDSA, sponsors this Sport Purple for Platelets Day. Money raised for ITP sufferers help educate people on how to detect and live with it. So this year, get it on the action of Sport Purple for Platelets Day. Sport Purple raise money and show your support. Today is commemorated as Shamu, the Whale Day, on September 26, US. Comes up every year on September 26, also known as National Shamu, the Whale Day. This day celebrates the heroics and splendor of remarkable orcas. The original Shamu was honored in the late 90s, and the same name has been passed down many generations. Through SeaWorld shows, it has since become a day to appreciate the world of orcas. The first Shamu was a whale that rose to prominence in the late 1960s. It was the star of the show organized by SeaWorld Parks and Entertainment. Many people came from around the country to watch the beautiful performances of Shamu. Despite being called killer whales, orcas are mostly harmless and are very fun to watch. Therefore, people love to go to see them. When the original Shamu died in 1971, subsequent stars of the show were given the name of the title. SeaWorld eventually went to trademark the name Shamu and has used it to attract people to get their attract people to their events. Today is also commemorated as Save the Koala Day on September 26 in Australia, celebrated on the last Friday in September every year and takes place on September 26. This year, it is part of the Save the Koala Month celebrations organized by the Australian Koala Foundation. The objective of these celebrations is simple: to save the koalas and their natural habitats and raise awareness to prevent them from going extinct. Koalas are an important part of Australian wildlife. However, today they face the danger of disappearing due to human activities and the climate crisis. You can do your part to prevent the unthinkable from happening by raising funds and donating to organizations that are committed to caring for the koala population. The Australian Koala Foundation, also known as AKF, started the Save Koala Month celebrations as part of its campaign that is dedicated to helping the koala population. The Australian Koala Foundation started its own notable journey in 1986 under the guidance of two veterinary doctors and the direction of Deborah Tabat. The foundation aims to save the wild koalas by protecting and managing their habitat. They organize an annual campaign to raise awareness of the threats to the koalas and raise the funds to continue with their objective. In 2012, the wild koala was listed as vulnerable to extinction under the EPBC Act of the Australian law. This happened only after the Australian Koala Foundation persistently lobbied to grant the special status to the vulnerable koala population. A Senate inquiry led the way, and Deborah Tabart attended each Senate hearing and oversaw approximately 100 submissions. The resultant report was a conclusive indictment of the government's failure in protecting one of the Australia's most popular icons, the koalas. However, the listing did not prove to be enough. Sadly for the koalas and those who care, Australia continues to downplay the immediate attention that koala conservationship needs. The Australian Koala Foundation is now demanding a Koala Protection Act similar to the Bald Eagle Act enacted in 1942. The aim is to implement the act into Australian law for guaranteed protection in the years to come. The Koala Army works tirelessly at all levels of government to encourage the implementation of the Koala Protection Act. Today is also commemorated as Native American Day in US, which is celebrated on 4th Friday of September every year, falling on September 26th this year, as a way of honoring those who have been a part of the American tradition. Even before the nation of the USA came into being, however, the history of Native Americans is written in blood and violence. After centuries of persecution, not much is left to tribes, and many have integrated into modern society. Those still in touch with their roots will remember these events and honor their ancestors' sacrifice. Native American Day is a holiday that hopes to change the way people view Native Americans and their culture. Today is also commemorated as National Situational Awareness Day in US on September 26th every year. Helps create more awareness about the importance of personal safety, since we all are responsible for our personal safety. Most of the time, it is important to be reminded of general safety tips. National Situational Awareness Day was created for this purpose. In 2016, National Situational Awareness Day was approved and 26 was chosen as a holiday. This day was submitted for consideration a year prior to the Pretty Loaded and Enterprise that is concerned with training individuals and the groups to be more mindful of their surroundings. The term situational awareness denotes an exercise that has been described in several military texts. The concept is said to be portrayed in Sun Tzu's The Art of War, also during the First World War. The practice seemed to be adopted, especially by pilots. Situational awareness has helped many stay alive in very dangerous situations. It also teaches many people to avoid potentially dangerous situations. Like walking alone in a dark alley, countless firms now offer lessons in situational awareness, especially on National Situational Awareness Day. Organizations and institutions have helped their employees get necessary training that would help them be more mindful of their surroundings. National Situational Awareness Day is observed to acknowledge the importance of situational awareness and encourage more people to learn basic survival tips for their own personal safety. Today is also commemorated as National Pancake Day on September 26th, this year's second National Pancake Day. Those hot cakes on the griddle, it's time to prepare some pancakes. In India, it is also known as dosa. So pancakes are old staple dating back to ancient Greece. Since then, many varieties have been created across the globe. In the West, even in India, we can have many varieties and famous for the pancakes, that is dosas, or even a pizza is also a form of dosa. That is an improved version to make it as a pizza. So in Britain, France, and other parts of the Europe, their pancakes or crepes are thin and often served with a sweet or savory filling. In Indonesia, they consume pancakes as serabi, which are made of rice flour and coconut milk. In Uganda, pancakes are made with bananas. These are just a few of many different variations across the globe. All are delicious and worth celebrating on National Pancake Day. Whichever style of pancake you prefer, get ready to enjoy a stack on them. Today is also commemorated as National Mesothelioma Awareness Day on 26th September in US. Mesothelioma is an aggressive form of cancer that destroys the protective tissues around its victim's lungs, abdomen, and heart. This disease is directly linked to the inhalation of asbestos fibers and most commonly diagnosed in construction and industry workers who have worked with asbestos products. In 2010, Congress established National Mesothelioma Awareness Day to educate Americans affected by or in danger of being affected by asbestos. Despite improved education, over 1.3 million American workers remain in contact with the toxic mineral in their workplace, resulting in thousands of the new mesothelioma diagnoses every year. Those affected by mesothelioma should speak with the legal representatives to see whether their employer is liable. Today is also commemorated as National Law Enforcement Suicide Awareness Day in US, which is observed on September 26th. Every year, this day brings attention to the tragedy of suicide. Furthermore, it aims to promote an open dialogue regarding law enforcement officers' mental health and continue to dispel the stigma of getting help. Blue Health created National Law Enforcement Suicide Awareness Day in 2020 to recognize the issue, support the families, provide solution, respect those who have died, and continue to raise awareness and to end suicide. We must assure that everyone that they are not alone. According to a recent study, police officers have most significant suicide risk of any employment during their careers. Those in profession witness an average of 188 critical incidents. Also, although these experiences exact a heavy toll on law enforcement officers, many still do not seek treatment or help. Those police officers are 5 times more likely to experience post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, and depression than civilians. Due to continuous trauma exposure and daily on-the-job stress, more officers died by their own hands and felonious attacks each year. National Law Enforcement Suicide Awareness Day was established to honor the service of officers who died by suicide while on duty and promote awareness about suicide in law enforcement community. This day also reminds officers and their families that they are not alone and the assistance is available. It will also assist in reducing stigma attached to seeking treatment and recognizing that one incident does not define a life. On September 26th, we highlight initiatives bringing about good change and tools to assist law enforcement officers experiencing mental health issues. National Enforcement Suicide Awareness Day was created by Blue Health, a health program, honor, educate, lead, prevent. Blue Health wants to ensure we focus on the issue and never forget the first responders should be honored for the service they gave to their communities, and their families are supported in the aftermath. We encourage others to seek help when needed. Today is also commemorated as National Key Lime Pie Day in US. Celebrated every year on September 26th, it is a mouth-watering occasion dedicated to a relatively new pie variant with interesting origins. If you ever wondered if the combination of key lime and pie would be delicious, you'll be happy to know that it is a match made in heaven. So let's explore its heritage as well as as we mark its special day to celebrate this yummy day. Today is also commemorated as National Doodle Day. On September 26, Drawing to Make a Difference, the key focus on National Doodle Day, an annual fundraising event that will be held on September 26 this year. On this day, selected famous people from art, sports, and entertainment world are encouraged to pick up writing instruments and create doodles, which are then auctioned off to the highest bidders online. The proceeds go to the support those affected by epilepsy and increase research in area. The date used to fail on September 17th, but now changes every year. So people have been using doodles to communicate for a very long time, and the first evidence of this is found in prehistoric cave drawings. Those drawings and symbols, possibly made with sticks and stones, and even hands, tell us the stories of the people who came before. Early doodle drawings shifted to another medium. Tablet scientists studied samples from ancient times, for example, from Mesopotamian societies. Found evidence of random images on the sides and edges of clay tables. Some historians believe that doodling as an art form has always been around. However, this history of the world is quite different now. During the pre-revolutionary war in America, a group of British military officers made up a song called Yankee Doodle, which they sang to mock the disorganized American soldiers. At that time, the word doodle meant fool or simpleton. The Americans adopted this song as their own, altering it to mock their enemies during the war. Gradually, the word evolved to mean to do nothing. Then, in the 20th century, Mr. Deeds Goes to Town was released and it used word doodle to talk about the absent-minded scribbling, and so doodles, as we know them, were born. At the same time, studies of the subconscious mind to interpret personality gained popularity, and so did the interest in doodling as a stress buster. Today is also commemorated as National Day of Praise and Worship. On September 26th in US, commemorated by the Christians around the United States. On this day, praise and worship songs are sung. Derek Wallace established this day in the year 2020. Christian worship and praise are essential to the faith. On this day, people worship God in whatever way they can, whether by singing worship songs, painting a picture, or playing an instrument. They use whatever talent God has given them to praise and worship Him. Today is also commemorated as National Compliance Officer Day in US, which is recognized on September 26th. Compliance officers are a very special group tasked with the duty of ensuring an ethical and safe environment for running of business across the country. It's a noble profession that deserves its own day. In 2016, SAI Global, known as the SAI 360, launched National Compliance Officer Day. This was done with the intent of honoring compliance professionals. Hardworking men and women are recognized on this special day. The post of Chief Compliance Officers began to proliferate in the early 2000s. It has since become part of the compliance departments across several organizations. In a rapidly changing world, business and organizations are constantly facing the risk of crumbling. Compliance officers are tasked with the duty of preventing this. They ensure the regulations are followed to a T and that the customer rights are protected as well as those of organizations. Compliance officers make sure that action is taken quickly instead of frantic reactions to economic meltdowns. Ultimately, compliance officers make sure that our economy doesn't slip into depression. It is a very tough job, and compliance officers deserve a way to celebrate their heroics. They also deserve to be celebrated by other employees and the society at large. Thus, National Compliance Officer Day was founded to appreciate these dutiful men and women who are professionals in the field of compliance. Today is also commemorated as National Chimichanga Day in US. It is an opportunity to celebrate one of the greatest culinary accidents in the history, the deep fried goodness that is chimichanga, created in 1946, the same year as the popular Mexican restaurant concept was launched. The chimichanga, which means tinga magic in Spanish, that has become a staple of Mexican restaurant menus around the country. So this has both vegetarian and non-vegetarian varieties. The chimichanga is a humble food, a deep fried burrito stuffed with vegetables or meat and other ingredients. However, as with many staple dishes, the origin of chimichanga is disputed. Similar to burrito, the chimichanga is loaded with number of fillings, rice, beans, and of course, with nutmeg or soya bean or any related filling for vegetarian version and otherwise meat for non-vegetarian version. So always go with the vegetarian versions. Today is also commemorated as National Brave Day in US, which is on the last Friday of every September. And this year the day will be observed on September 26th. Every woman knows that sometimes all that she needs is a small nudge of encouragement in the form of timely guidance from another woman. Yet other times call for coordinated, thoughtful efforts for women in need. The world moves forward when women empower women. National Brave Day honors women who lift each other up, rescue each other, fight for each other's cause, and make each other brave in the day to celebrate the wise and strong women in your life. So today is also commemorated as Michigan Indian Day, which is observed on the fourth Friday in September, is an attempt to honor the significant contributions that various Native American tribes have made in American history, particularly in the state of Michigan. This year it takes place on September 26th. The designation of the day dates back to 1974, but only caught on in 2007. The day entails a celebration of very first peoples of Michigan and how they played in an irreplaceable role in the history of state. Michigan is home to several Native American tribes, the largest of which are the Ojibwe and Odawa, and the Potawatomi. Today is also commemorated as Lumberjack Day in US on September 26 each year, which aims at celebrating the archetypal woodsman, the lumberjack. It was created in 2005 by Marion Weiss and Colleen Venable as an excuse to eat pancakes and waffles with friends. Lumberjack Day is also celebrated because International Talk Like a Pirate Day comes a week before it, and Weiss and Venable wanted to celebrate a different character. They thought that it was important to have a day to talk about lumberjacks as well. So the celebration has grown to a celebration all over the US. Today is also commemorated as Love Note Day on September 26th in the US every year. And it is one day where you get to channel your inner Victorian lover and send warm, heartfelt love notes to your partner. It doesn't have to be a National Boyfriend Day or Valentine's Day to make someone you love feel special. It is a chance to convey your deepest emotions by writing down how much you mean to you and sending it to a lover in a scented envelope or an email. If you're not usually the wordy romantic type, then take this day as an opportunity to be a little cheesy. Even a plain I love you can make your partner feel happy and loved. Today is also commemorated as Hug a Vegetarian Day, which is celebrated every year on the fourth Friday of September, this year, September 26th. Many people in the world believe that humans can have perfectly healthy diets. So without eating any meat, the plant-based diets of vegetarians or vegans may differ from those of meat eaters. But for the most, the intakes of both groups are nutritionally adequate for good health, and many of the differences are quite small. So Hug a Vegetarian Day introduces people to the lifestyle and how they can incorporate more meat-free food items into their diets. Hug a Vegetarian Day celebrates those who have taken in step to cruelty-free by removing meat from their regular diet. This, of course, also means denouncing leather, fur, and other animal products. The history of a vegetarian day is tied to the history of PETA for People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, which is the organization that founded the day. PETA was founded in 1949 by Ingrid Newkirk. After being less than pleased by conditions in an animal shelter, Ingrid Newkirk brought focus to the treatment of the animals at some shelters and how poorly looked after they were. She went on to establish PETA to help make the lives of animals safe and dignified. It was originally located in Rockville, Maryland in 1980 until it later moved to Norfolk, Virginia. From there, it has grown internationally and became a leading symbol for the fight against animal cruelty. Hug a Vegetarian Day was established by PETA to celebrate and recognize those who have transitioned to a meat free and animal product free lifestyle. Being a vegetarian isn't always easy. In many cases, the food options tend to be limited at restaurants, and sometimes vegetarians may even experience a strange hostility in social situations. Since vegetarianism is now becoming increasingly popular among ethical consumers and fitness enthusiasts, the options for the vegetarian palate are now wider. Today, it is relatively easy to find an alternate for most animal-based proteins. Hug a vegetarian and give them a pat on the back for doing their bit in saving animal lives. A greener diet also means that they are helping to protect the environment and the planet, even for a day. Hug a Vegetarian Day is a great way to try out the lifestyle. Today is also commemorated as HR Professionals Day in US, which is celebrated every September 26th, is designed to pay tribute to those working in HR departments every day. This day also aims to raise awareness about the role of the job. Sharing information about HR professionals is important so that we know what it is like to be part of the community. If you are interested in working in human resources, you should be able to find a lot of great information online during this day. Today is also commemorated as German Sandwich Day on September 26th, that we must face up to the fact that as we might, we could very well run out of superlatives to properly describe the celebration. So with an appetite, of course, and with the basics, which means a quick look at the inspiration for this observance, an item both beautiful and delicious it is in its simplicity. The butter brought, which means butter bread in German. The butter brought is just as it sounds. Butter with bread, and it's eaten at any time of the day, most especially on the sandwich day. Today is also commemorated as European Day of Languages in UK, which is observed on September 26th annually. This day promotes about language learning and protecting linguistic heritage. The overall purpose is to raise awareness of Europe's rich linguistic and cultural diversity, which must be encouraged and preserved. It also strives to broaden the spectrum of languages that people learn throughout their lives to improve plural linguism and intercultural understanding. EDL provides a chance to honor all of Europe's languages, particularly those spoken less frequently and spoken by migrants. The EDL is a part of language policy program. The most significant part of the program is directed at national education authorities and practitioners in this field. This campaign aims to convince the general public of the importance of learning more than one language. There is also commemorated as Dominion Status Day in New Zealand, celebrated on September 26th. Every year it marks the day when New Zealand ceased to exist as a colony and was declared a dominion within the British Empire. It did not change its political status or influence, but it was a symbolic change towards eventual independence in 1945. On this day, we learn more about how by political independence was granted to some colonies under the British Empire. In practical terms, it was not a popular day because it was in big in gains for the nation. Today is also commemorated as Better Breakfast Day on September 26th in US. Wake up America. Let's make the most of our mornings. Eating a healthy breakfast has never been more important. We are nation on the go 9 to 5 has become 7 to 6 or worse. Hours like that require serious nutritional planning. Skipping breakfast might have worked back in your parents' day, but rushing out the door with a quick gulp of orange juice just doesn't cut in 2009. Today is also commemorated as American Indian Day in US, which is observed on fourth Friday of September every year. This year it is going to be celebrated on September 26th. Although this is one of the most important days in the US, Native American Day is a public holiday or official state observance only in some states. However, it has been steadily growing in both scope and popularity. Sometimes important that in some states celebrate this day on the second Monday of October. As the name implies, Native American Day is an opportunity to celebrate, learn, and share information about the traditions, culture, background of Native Americans. If you are wondering who Native Americans are, let us tell you that they are descendants of the Aboriginal indigenous groups who were original inhabitants of the United States. The term Native Americans encompass hundreds of different tribes from the Inuit of Alaska to Cherokees of southern eastern woodlands. Each of these tribes has its own unique culture and language. Native Americans have made distinct and significant contributions to the US and the rest of the world in many fields such as agriculture, medicine, music, language, and art. Throughout history, they have distinguished themselves as inventors, entrepreneurs, spiritual leaders, and scholars. In 1998, Native American Day was officially declared a state holiday. In 1990, South Dakota proclaimed this day a year of reconciliation between Native Americans and Caucasian population. South Dakota did this by changing Columbus Day to Native American Day. This day aims to celebrating the irreplaceable heritage contributions and knowledge of the Native American population. It is also a day to commemorate the enduring legacy of their fortitude, energy, and strength. Native American Day is also appreciating the long history of culture and traditions that Native Americans have preserved throughout the centuries. Today is also commemorated as Alpaca Day in US on September 26th. Each year in USA, alpacas are cute fuzzy animals that has been of help to human beings in agriculture for significant time. These animals have unique personalities, are highly sensitive to their environment, are most timid in temperament. Alpaca Day raises awareness about the need for the conservation of alpacas and their habitats. Human activities have affected alpacas and like other animals, they too are struggling with the increasing human interference in their daily lives. Alpacas are native to South America and a part of camelid family. They have been domesticated for more than 9,000 years and have proven their use as animals of burden and agriculture. Their soft padded feet do not damage pastures, and lack of teeth means make them excellent grazers. In 2014, the Alpaca Owners Association founded Alpaca Day to educate people, to educate people about alpacas and their role in our daily lives. Each year, the Alpaca Owners Association hosts events all over the USA in cooperation with farm members to educate people about the alpaca farm industry. Attendees get the opportunity to meet alpacas and learn about alpaca products. Awareness is also raised on how alpacas contribute to the environment and help with greener farms. Alpaca Owners Association also lets those interested get involved in alpaca farm lifestyle. Because the industry of alpaca farming is still slowly developing in various parts of the world, every new year, new themes are introduced to Alpaca Day, but the United States is not the only country that celebrates these adorable animals. Days dedicated to alpacas are also celebrated as New Zealand's National Alpaca Day on May 2nd, Peru's National Alpaca Day on August 1st, and National Alpaca Farm Day in the US also on September 26th. We can safely say that alpacas are loved by people across the world. Alpaca Day is a perfect combination of raising awareness about the animals and conservation of wildlife, as well as spending time within these adorable animals. Today is also commemorated as AFL Grand Final Friday. In Australia, then it's Aussie Madness as a nation full of footy-crazed fans get ready to celebrate its most popular sporting event on September 26th. The AFL Grand Final Day or Friday. On the final Friday of the month at midday, a spectacular parade in Melbourne kicks off the Australian Football League final that actually takes place on the next day. It is a public holiday in Victoria and the parade is a real crowd. Full of fans line the streets to watch players, mascots, marching bands, and other entertainments. They do begin Australia. Today is also commemorated as World Environment Health Day, 26th on 26 September by the International Federation of Environmental Health. To be celebrated each year. The theme for the 2025 is World Environment for the World Environment Health Day is clean air, healthy people. Clean air is essential for good health and well-being. Air pollution contributes to respiratory diseases, heart conditions, and climate change. Everyone has a role to play in reducing air pollution, advocating for clean air pollution. Sustainable practices and policies can mitigate the effects of air pollution and improve people's health and well-being. The focus of WEHD is to promote awareness and action on the impact of clean air, public health, addressing the air pollution, climate change, and respiratory diseases. And next, through case studies, workshops, school activities, press, and other mechanisms, evidence the role of environmental health in improving air quality and protecting people's health. As always, the WHD can be used on all topics that are relevant in terms of environmental health and that is relevant to your local or regional part of the world. We hope that all IFEH member organizations, associated members, associated academic members, as well as not members of the IFEH, but being environmental health related institutions or organizations, will use this opportunity, World Environmental Health Day 2025, to produce initiatives on the topic or environmental health in general and to inform about your activities. So with this, we shall end today's commemorations. Thank you everyone for joining us in today's celebrations and commemorations. We request everyone to quickly fill up the feedback form that has been raised in the form of polls.